What up? Welcome to Titania, Voice of Gaea, EDH deck list, deck profile, thingamabobber. I call this deck Big Stompy Mommy because that's what she is when you transform her, and that's what the deck wants to do. And do, like, generic good green land things. Deck comes in a solid 120 USD on TCG Player, which not bad. Could easily be downgraded. And yeah, it's a bracket 3 because crop rotation. That's fair. Although we're literally just using crop rotation to bring out Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, so it's kind of whatever. Who is Titania? What does she do? Titania is a pretty big character from Magic. She's a 3-mana 3/4 by default with Reach, which is already great. Whenever one or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2. So this is from milling, from sacrificing, from whatever. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more land cards in your graveyard and you both own and control Titania, Voice of Gaea, and a land name Argoth, Sanctum of Nature, you exile them, you meld them into Titania, Gaea Incarnate. So we're using the meld mechanic. And here's Titania, Gaea Incarnate. So it is a star, vigilance, trample, reach, haste. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. So obviously you want a bunch of lands and it'll just be big. When it enters, you return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and you can put 4/1/1 counters on a land you control. It becomes an elemental creature token with haste. So yeah, essentially you're just gonna get a bunch of lands in your graveyard. You're gonna find your Argoth, and then you're gonna make a big stompy mommy. Let's go to the artifacts. Cage Sun in the deck. Why? Because you're monocolor and you like buffing your creatures by 1. I think this card is kind of whatever. The adding additional mana is also kind of cool, but I don't think it's that crazy. I think this card could very easily be cut. Conduit of Worlds, because you're going to be putting a lot of lands into your graveyard, so you want a way to bring them back. Also, the second effect, you can tap it, choose a non-land permanent in your graveyard, and if you haven't cast spells, you can just cast it. So you can just cast big spells from your graveyard, essentially giving you like 2 times the spell's effect, which is really good on some cards. Emerald Medallion, you're playing mono green, might as well reduce everything's price by 1. Expedition map is in here to find specific lands, mainly the Argoth. Soul Ring's a little ramp. Staff of Titania, 2 mana. Equipped creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of forests you control. In monocolor, you're going to be running a lot of forests. And whenever equipped creature attacks, create a 1/1 green forest dryad land creature token. So it makes a land. It's also just a chumper if you want it to be. It's a pretty good card. Also, it's Titania themed, so might as well put it in the deck, right? Swiftfoot Boots, kind of in here for the hexproof, but also giving things haste, like mana dorks on turns they're played, even though I actually don't think this deck has any mana dorks, so ignore that. It's here to give hexproof mainly. And Zern Orb as a way to just put our lands into our graveyard if we need them for Titania, or if we just have enough and we're facing lethal damage, you can heal out of it. Onto the creatures. Aftermath Analyst, 2 mana 1/3. When it enters, you mill 3, and then you can pay 4, sack it to return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So later on, after you've done your Titania thing, if she's on board or not, and you don't need all the lands in your graveyard, you can just bring them back with this card. Ashaya Solar Wind will just make everything into a forest, which is huge for Titania because then she'll just get even bigger, and Ashaya will also just be very big. Avenger of Zendikar, because you'll have a lot of lands, you'll make a bunch of plants, and also if you play this and then do the Titania thing, you'll get 4 or 5 landfall triggers on the next turn, making them all 4/5s, which is very strong. Beanstalk Giant, 7 mana. It's 3 to ramp 1. Search your library for basic land, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Doesn't even come in tapped, and it's, a basic land, but that's fine. And then for 7 mana, you just make a really big dude. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. Blanchwood Prowler, 2 mana 1/1. When it enters, you can mill 3, and you can put a land card from among the cards into your hand. If you don't, you put a 1/1 counter on Blanchwood Prowler. So you have the choice of adding the land back to hand and which one. If you want them all in the graveyard, let's say you mill 1 land you want in the graveyard, he just becomes a 2/2, which is fine. Bramble Familiar, 7 mana, mill 7. Put a creature enchantment or land card from among the milled cards onto the battlefield. So this is kind of a way to find your specific lands you're looking for, or if you find a really good creature that you want, you can just get it. He's also a 2 mana dork, and you can pay 2 to discard a card to return him to his owner's hand, which means you'd be able to fetch quest, play him on the next turn, discard a card, return them to hand, and then do the fetch quest again, which is a pretty cool mana sink later on in the game. Circle the Land Druid, 2 mana 1/1. When it enters, you may mill 4 cards, and then when he dies, you return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. So this is just a little bit of land recursion. Dried Arbor, it's a land creature, might as well put it in the deck. It's just a very solid card. Elvish Reclaimer, 1 mana 1/2, gets +2/+2 as long as there are 3 or more land cards in your graveyard, which is pretty good. And you're mainly playing it for 2 tap, sack a land, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle. So there's just like another way to tutor your good lands. Eternal Witness in here to recur whatever. It could be a land, could be a really strong creature, whatever. Golgari Grave Troll, mainly in here for the Dredge 6, if I'm being honest. It enters with a 1/1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard, which can be a lot because you do a lot of self-milling with a lot of the other creatures. It's mainly in here for the Dredge 6 to set up your graveyard with lands if you need it. You can also pay 1, remove a 1/1 to regenerate him, which is cool. Kura's in here, 5 mana 4/4, Flying Death Touch. When he dies, you can either search your library for up to 3 land cards, reveal and put them into your hand, or make an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. Later on in the game, you can make a really big creature token. Earlier on in the game, you can find whatever lands you need to do the thing or get utility and get that instead. So it's a really good option. Lace of Prowler, 4 mana 5/5. When it enters, you may mill cards equal to the number of lands you control. And you can pay 1 and a green, exile this card from your graveyard to put X1/1 counters on target creature where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. So this works with lands in your grave, which is nice. It will also just mill you a lot. I think this card's interesting. I think this card could probably also be cut though. Loot, he just kind of gives you a second land drop, and for 6 mana later on, it's just a free mana dump to find something good, specifically a creature, but I mean, yeah, this is just a very solid card in this deck. Multani, 6 mana 0/0, reach Trample. He gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land in your graveyard, so he's dipping into both. And then you can pay 2, return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand, or return this card from your graveyard to your hand. So you can just keep playing them. It's a pretty good card, especially with, he's just going to be really big, and then he's going to have reach and trample. Rainveil, Rejuvenator, 4 mana 2/4. When he enters, you may mill 3 cards, and you can tap to add an amount of green equal to his power. So he's just kind of a mana dork, but he also mills you on ETB, which you like in the deck because milling is one of the strategies. Running up Excavator, obviously very good in the deck. You can play lands from your graveyard, you're milling a lot of lands, and if you're not returning them with your commander, or one of a few other effects like Aftermath Analyst or whatever, you can still just play him with him. Rift Sweeper is 2 mana 2/2. When he enters, choose target face-up exiled card. Its owner shuffles it into his or her library. So this is in here specifically to recur the Argoth land. While playtesting the deck, I realized if your Titania meld card gets exiled, I mean, Titania getting exiled, whatever, it goes back to the command zone, but your land will be stuck in exile, and then there's no way to recur with like an Eternal Witness or anything that brings the land back from the graveyard to your hand or to the battlefield. So this is in here as like a one of you play later on in the game, or you try and play if your land is exiled to bring out Gaea again. Titania, Gaea, Hujumawatchit, Incarnate. Steve is Steve. You sack him, you put him in the graveyard, you get a basic. This card's really, really good. Seder Wayfinder, 2 mana 1/1. When he enters, you reveal top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them into your graveyard, into your hand, put the rest in your graveyard. So this mills you. You may put a land, so you don't even have to put the land from that you milled into your hand. If you have enough lands in hand and you want them in your grave for your Titania, perfectly good option. Yes, just another good mill card that can also find you lands. 6 is in the deck. 3 mana 2/4 with reach. When he attacks, you mill 3 cards and you put a land from among the cards you milled into your hand. So he recurs lands that he mills, which is nice. And as long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace, which means you may cast permanent cards from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying their other costs. This puts lands in your graveyard from your hand, which isn't great, but the fact that you're just retracing non-land permanents, so you can retrace some very strong cards, definitely makes up for it. Sylvan Safekeeper, 1 mana 1/1, sack a land, target creature gains Shroud until end of turn. It's a good way to protect your Titania. It's a good way to sack lands, put into your graveyard for value. This is a very good card. Timeless Witness, 4 mana 2/1. When he enters, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So similar to Eternal Witness, except this one has Eternalize. You can pay 2 and 5 and exile it from the graveyard. Make a token that's a copy of this card, except it's a 4/4. So it's essentially just a double value Timeless Witness. You can use it early and then use it later on when you don't need the 7 mana. It's a very good card. Tireless Provisioner, 3 mana, 3/2. Use just a landfall. When a land enters, you either make a food or a treasure token. Just a good kind of value card that you can play in decks that care about lands like this deck. Titania, Nature's Force, 6 mana, 6/6. You may play forest cards from your graveyard, which is nice. And whenever forest you control enters, create a 5/3 green elemental creature token. Whenever an elemental you control dies, you may mill 3 cards. So this will mill you. I believe, yeah, the big Titania is also an elemental, so if they get rid of that, you mill 3, which is nice. And yeah, whenever a force enters, which happens a lot in this deck, you can make a 5/3, which is cool. Also, returning forest from graveyard to battlefield is nice. Titania, Protector of Argoth, 5 mana, 5/3 when he enters. Return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield, so it's a little bit of recursion. And whenever land you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, so the other way around, you make a 5/3. These two actually just go really well together. You have them both on board. One of your elementals dies, you mill 3. Maybe you mill a land, you make another 5/3. It's just pretty cool value. Ulvenwald Hydra, 6 mana Star with reach. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And the main reason why you're playing it is because whenever it enters, you may search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield, tap, and shuffle. It's a tutor for a land. It's like crop rotation, but it has a really big body and it's a little more expensive. Vorinclex is in here. This is the Trample Reach one, where when it enters, search your library for up to 2 forests, reveal them, put them in your hand, and shuffle. So it's a forest tutor, and you can also pay 8, exile him, and then return him. He becomes one of the sagas. Chapter 1 being mill 10, put up 2 creature cards from among the milled cards onto the battlefield, so you can get some 2 pretty big hits off of that. Second chapter is just to distribute 7/1/1 counters among any number of target creatures you control, kind of whatever. Chapter 3, until end of turn, creatures you control get 1. This creature fights target creature you don't control, and then you exile this. You return it to Vorinclex. When it enters, you're going to find 2 more basic forests again, which is nice. Or just 2 more forests. So yeah, it is like a little bit of removal on Chapter 3. The mill 10 is really nice in the deck, and obviously you also just bring back 2 creatures, which is huge. It can be any 2, there's no restriction. And it searches for land. It's a very good card. World Shaper, 4 mana, 3/3. When it attacks, you may put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, and when it dies, put all land cards from your graveyard on the battlefield tapped. This is another way to massacre your lands. On to the enchantments. Abundance. This card is just super good. Like, I find myself wanting to put this in more and more decks with green. So if you draw a card, you may instead choose land or non-land and reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a card of the chosen kind. Put that card into your hand and put all your cards revealed this way on the bottom of your library in any order. This essentially means you can never brick on like not seeing a land or not seeing a creature. This card is just like super good value. I would recommend putting this in a lot of decks that can run it, because like, oh, you're only drawing lands, you play Abundance, that's no longer a problem. Vice versa, you're only drawing creatures and you need, yeah. Either way, very, very good card. Crawling Infestation, 3 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill 2 cards, and then whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into a graveyard from anywhere during your turn, you make a 1/1 green insect creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Kind of using this for the mill. You will end up milling creatures a decent bit because the deck runs a lot of them, so it's just a good value card. Dredger's Insight, another great value card. Whenever 1 or more artifacts or creature cards leave your graveyard, you gain 1 life, and whenever this enchantment enters, mill 4 cards. You may put an artifact, creature, or land card from among the milled cards into your hand. So this is just a mill, gets you something, and gains you life whenever an artifact and creature leaves your graveyard, which is nice. Elemental Bond, 3 mana. Whenever a creature you control with power 3 or greater enters, draw a card. So this is kind of Garruk's, but I realize 3 is kind of a sweet spot in this deck. 4 feels really weird, and the trample doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, this is kind of just card draw. I think there's much better card draw you can play in green, but this is kind of just what I went with because it fit the deck. On to, oh yeah, Gaea's Touch. This is a really fun one. This is a very old card. What is this? This was printed in The Dark and Masters Edition 3. I don't know what Masters Edition 3 is, but it is a 2 mana enchantment. For 0, you may put a basic forest card from your hand on the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery and only once each turn. And you can also sacrifice this enchantment to add 2 green. What this means is if you have something like a 6 and you have a bunch of lands in hand, you can play this, put a land in, sacrifice it for 2 green, discard another land from hand, play this from your graveyard with 6, pay 0, put another basic. Like if you just have a lot of forest in your hand, sick. Yeah, this card's also just, you can ramp one, then the next turn after you're done ramping with it, sacrifice it to get 2 mana, and then go and do another play on a bigger curve. This card's really cool. Beast Within, it's just good removal. Targets any permanent too, which is nice. Collective Resistance, 2 mana, you can escalate it for a green. You can destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or target creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, so it's just good kind of generic value card. You can either protect your big creature, you can destroy an artifact, you can destroy an enchantment. You can do all 3 at once for, what, 4 mana? Pretty good. Crop Rotation, this is probably just the best card in the deck because it finds you the land you need. Yeah, so sack a land, search your library for a land, put it on the battlefield. Doesn't even come in tapped, which is great. And you shuffle your library. Entish Restoration, 3 mana, sacrifice a land, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped and shuffle. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which is pretty likely if you have your commander on board, melded on board, search your library for up to 3 basic lands, so you essentially sack 1, get 3. It's like crop rotation, but worse because it only hits basic. But I think you can play Hero instead. In fact, the deck actually just runs Hero. Sack a land, get 2 basics, put them on the battlefield. And all of these just come in. Oh, these ones come in tapped, but Hero doesn't come in tapped, which is really, really good. Heritage Reclamation, destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, or exile 1 target card from a graveyard, draw a card. This card was printed in Dragonstorm. This card is just a power crept version of Nature's Lore, I think. It does the same thing, but it just says draw a card in one of the modes, which is sick. Crescent Grip is a little bit of artifact and enchantment removal. Also, it's split second, so nobody can react to it, which is nice. We got Ram Through as removal, and with your commander melding into a Trampler, it can do a lot of damage. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If a creature you control has trample, excess damage dealt to that creature's controller instead. So yeah, you can just kind of trample through something without attacking it, which is nice. Return to Nature, yeah, also in the deck. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or exile a card from a graveyard. Roiling Regrowth, 3 mana, sack a land, search your library for up to 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield, tap and shuffle. This is just a worse Hero, but you still want it because you're sacrificing a land, which is good for your commander. Argoth, this is the big card that Titania is trying to find. It enters tapped unless you control a legendary green creature. Tap it for a green, and you can pay 4, tap it, make a 2/2 green bear creature token, then you mill 3 cards. So this can help you mill. It's also, you kind of need to play it for your commander. Blighted Woodland, it taps for colors, or you can pay 4, sack it to search your library for 2 basic lands, put them on battlefield, tap and shuffle. Broker's Hideout is one of the ones when it enters, you sack it automatically. So it just automatically happens. It's not like Terramorphic or the other one that I can't remember the name of, but it's going to come up. And yeah, this one you can get either basic forest, plains, or island. Because it says forest, you just do it. It enters tapped and you gain a life, which is cool. Cabaret Courtyard, same thing. Enters, you sack it, you get a forest, you gain a life. Demolition Field, a little bit of land hate. Also, you sacrifice the Demolition Field, so if you need it in your graveyard for anything, that works. Echoing Deeps, when it enters as a copy of any land in your graveyard, except it's a cave. So if you haven't found any other land recursion and you want Argoth, Echoing Deeps does the trick. Escape Tunnel, you can sack it, search your library for basic, or you can have a creature with power 2 or less unblockable this turn. Mainly it's here to sack to search for a land. Evolving Wilds is the one I was talking about. Sack it, search basic, enters tapped. Horizon of Progress, pay 1, add 1 mana of any color that you could produce, kind of whatever. You can pay 3, tap it, put a land card from your hand on the battlefield tapped, which is one of the better versions because it just ramps you early. Or you can pay 1, tap it, sack it to draw cards. This is a little bit of card draw. Myriad Landscape, a sack land that ramps you, which is, you mainly want it for the sack effect. Riveteer's Overlook, like the Cabaret Courtyard, enters, sack it, gain 1 life, get a forest. Terramorphic, sack, and Urza's Cave, pay 3, tap, sack to search for any land, put it on the battlefield tapped. So this will get you your Argoth if you want it. And then War Room, this is just a solid card in monocolor decks. You can pay 3, tap it, and then draw a card and lose 1 life. It's lose life equal to the number of color identities in your commander. this case, you're playing monocolored, so it's pay 3, draw a card, which late game, if you don't need the mana, you can just do this once. It's really nice. Onto the Planeswalkers, Nissa, Virtue of Force. 5 mana, comes in with 5 loyalty. You can +1 to untap a land until your next turn. It's a 5/5 elemental with haste. You can -3 return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, which is probably the main reason this card is being run in this deck. And then -6, you get an emblem with whenever land you control enters, you may draw a card, which is pretty crazy, but it's really hard to get off ultimates with Planeswalkers, especially in a 4-player format where you play it and then 3 other people are going to go into attacking it. Nissa Worldwaker, 5 mana, comes in with 3, which is significantly worse, but target land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental creature token with trample. It's still a land. You're mainly running this for the second one, which is +1 untap up to 4 target forests. So this is almost just a 1 mana Planeswalker. If you think about it, you pay 5, it enters, you +1 it to 4, and then you untap 4 of the 5 forests you spent to cast this. It's pretty solid, especially if it stays on the board for a turn. You're essentially just playing with 4 more mana, which is pretty good. You can also -7 search your library for any number of basic lands, put them onto the battlefield, and shuffle. Those lands become 4/4 elemental creature tokens with trample. They're still lands. Unfortunately, they don't come in with haste, which is a bit of a problem with that. But yeah, untapping 4 lands is cool. Running 7, 5 mana, comes in with 5. +1, reveal top 4 of your library. Put all land cards revealed this way into your hand. For 0, you can put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. -3, make a tree folk with power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. Or -8, return all permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. So every mode on this is just good. You can search for lands from the top 4. You can dump lands from hand on the battlefield. You can make a really big token. You can just return everything to hand and have no max hand size. Very good card. Hour of Promise, 5 mana, search your library for 2 lands, put them on battlefield, tap and shuffle. These are any lands, which is nice. Then if you control 3 or more deserts, which the deck doesn't run any deserts, you make 2/2 black zombies. Life in the Roam, 2, return 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand, and it has dredge 3. This is just a very, very solid card. Up until the Tarkir printing, I believe this was like $8. This was way more expensive before the Precon printing. But yeah, this is a very good card. Nature's Lord to ramp, Rampant Growth to ramp, Sylvan Scrying to tutor for mainly Argoth, or you can get whatever you need in your scenario. Titania's Commands, this is a big one, 6 mana, you can choose 2, you can exile target player's graveyard, gain 1 life for each card exile this way, so mass life gain. You can search your library for up to 2 lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, shuffle. You can make 2/2 green bears, and you can put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control. So, I mean, yeah, it's a super versatile card. Ramping 2 is nice if you don't see the lands that you need. Make tokens to chump, make your guys big with 1/1s. It's a good card. Will Sultai, another new Tarkir specific pre-con card. Choose 1 if you control a commander. As you cast a spell, you may choose both. You can have target player mill 3 cards, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tap, so it's mass land recursion. Or you can put X/1/1 counters on target creature, where X is the number of lands you control. It gains trample until end of turn. You can just make your commander super big. You can make anything super big. You can bring back a bunch of lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This is a very, very solid card. Going to the maybe board, Azusa, playing 3 lands a turn is good. Cultivator Colossus, this card is just like super duper good, but I don't think the deck runs enough lands to justify it. Endless Atlas, 2 mana, 2 tap, draw a card, activate only if you have 3 or more lands with the same name. 2 to draw a card is alright, but I think they're just better cards you can put in the deck. Maybe you swap this out for Caged Sun, I don't know. Fabled Passage, Lotus Field are both just lands that you can sack, or you can sack lands when it enters. Like Lotus Field, there's no reason to not sack 2 forests to get this on board. You put 2 more in your grave, which is nice. Fabled Passage is also just like a fetch. Prismatic Vista in the same way. Any of the fetch lands that have green in their color identity you can run, but they're just expensive. You can pay 2 tap, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyards. You can self-mill, or you can pay 2 exile, shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your library. So if you're running out of cards in your deck, you can play this, recur everything. There was one deck where one game where I tested this deck and I did deck myself out, which was pretty funny. Like without any mill players or anything, just because the game went on for long enough and you just mill so much. But yeah, this card's interesting. And then Root Path Putrefier, 4 mana 3/4 lands you control are land cards Lands you control and land cards in your library are basic, so this is nice for cards like Harrow or any of the ones that just search basics, because you will be able to search whatever utility lands you want or your Argoth, but I don't think it's needed, and the deck feels consistent enough without it. Seer Sundial, landfall, you can pay to draw a card, which is alright, but for 4 mana, I don't love. In that case, I think it's strictly better to play Endless Atlas. But yeah, I'll quickly go through the Rex, even though this video is getting kind of long. Obviously, landfall cards are very strong, but you kind of have to combo them the turn before, or like the turn before you get the Gaea meld. So I think those plays look a little too obvious, and then they just get removed before you do the thing. Anything that lets you play lands from your graveyard is obviously very good. Ancient Green Warden, Crucible of Worlds are the big two I can think of. Oracle of Moldiah would be interesting. You can play lands from the top of your library, but I don't think it's that good. Escape Shift would be interesting, but I don't think you get that much value out of it, so I think it's kind of overrated. Return all lands from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped is a very strong effect in this deck, especially when you're milling and sacrificing so many of them. So yeah, obviously Exploration, very good card. Yeah, there's Crucible of Worlds. Return to Wildspeaker isn't bad because your melded guy is an elemental. Obviously Heroic Intervention because you're playing a green deck. Yeah, there's a lot of very, very solid cards you can play this deck. Archdruids, Rishkars, Boseiju, Kenrit. Like, green is one of the best colors to just play mono color with in Commander because it has kind of everything. But yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Next week, we're definitely covering Final Fantasy because the leaks came out on Saturday. I recorded this Monday afternoon, but yeah, I only got to see them Sunday, and I didn't really have time to build a deck with them. But I do have something in mind, and there's something I'm cooking, and I think it's kind of degenerate and pretty cool, so stay tuned for that. Alright, thank you very much. See you next week. Bye-bye.